She said it in a soft voice, like she was telling me the grocery list. It'll be easier for the child. That was her phrase. The child. Not Macy. Not our daughter. Just the child. As if naming her might invite guilt, or remind her of what she was doing. As if using clinical language would make it easier to dismantle a family without calling it that. Macy wants to be with her real father. And there it was. The sentence that stole the ground out from under my feet. No preamble. No warning. Just a quiet rearranging of the world I thought I had built. I remember blinking stupidly, as if that would buy me time to process it, to make it sound less final. What does that mean? I asked her, not because I didn't understand, but because I wanted to hear her say it again, to confess without flinching that she was choosing to erase me. She didn't look up. She kept folding laundry. It means we're going to start being more mindful of what Macy needs. Holidays, school things, drop-offs and pickups. She's getting older, and she's been asking to spend more time with Jason. I waited for the part where she said it wouldn't change things between us, that I was still her partner, that I was still Macy's parent. But no such words came. She kept folding, kept talking in that flat, rehearsed voice. I just think, for now, it's best we don't complicate things. That was it. That was the moment I knew I was out. Not divorced, not thrown out, just deleted. My name would no longer be listed for school emergencies. My seat would no longer be saved at recitals. My voice would no longer count when decisions were made about vacations, discipline, healthcare. And the worst part? She delivered it like it was mercy. No tears, no argument, just a redirection like reassigning a role at work. I'd gone from stepfather to background noise in a matter of minutes. She didn't tell me to leave, but she also didn't ask me to stay. I didn't protest. I went upstairs, packed a single duffel, 3 button-down shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, my laptop, my toothbrush, and one thing more. The plastic wristwatch Macy had given me when she was 6, bright pink, heart-shaped, something she had picked out with a $5 bill and all the love in the world. She told me I had to wear it, so I'd never forget to come home. I wore it for a week straight before the strap broke. I kept it in my drawer ever since. I left the rest. The furniture I helped pick. The tools I used to fix her car. The framed photos on the mantle. The slow-built life. Let it all sit. Let it all rot. And I left without a sound. No slammed door. No farewell letter. Just a man slipping out of a home that had quietly evicted him long before. I moved 12 miles away. Just across the river. Same weather. Same streets. But it may as well have been a different country. No one called. No one visited. No one asked how I was. That first night in the new apartment, I sat on the bare floor, the duffel unopened beside me, staring at the empty kitchen like it owed me something. I canceled everything I was funding. Her school tuition account, deactivated. The joint credit card, frozen. Macy's extracurriculars, all set to lapse. I didn't send a message. Didn't offer an explanation. I simply removed my name from everything that made the machine run. 3 days passed. Then the phone lit up. Voicemails, missed calls, texts. Her first message was short, clipped. Hey, can you call me? Macy's schedule is kind of a mess right now. Then came another, longer, more irritable. I don't know what's going on, but this isn't helping. You're acting like a child. We're trying to give Macy stability. That word. She was using we now to describe herself and Jason, as if I had never been part of that equation. As if I had never been the one to rock Macy to sleep when she was sick. As if I hadn't taught her how to ride a bike. As if I wasn't the one who stayed up late fixing her science projects the night before they were due. But now Jason was we. Jason who hadn't changed a diaper. Jason who missed birthdays and blamed work. Jason whose idea of parenting was a monthly check and a holiday weekend, if that. And me? I was gone. Not because I stormed out, but because I was erased. She didn't understand. Or maybe she did. And that's what made it worse. This wasn't anger. I didn't leave because I was mad. I left because she had quietly rewritten the story, and I was no longer in it. There was no place for a man who wasn't real. No room for a stepfather who had the audacity to love a child as his own. She wanted to reset the board. Give Macy a simpler picture. The biological picture. The one with Jason back in the frame, standing where I once stood. It's funny how people think fatherhood is biology. As if blood is what tucks kids in at night. As if DNA goes to parent-teacher meetings or stays up during fevers. I had bled for that girl. Not with wounds, but with time. With work. With the kind of invisible labor no one praises you for. Driving to rehearsals, building school projects, assembling dollhouses at midnight because the instructions made no sense and the screws were the size of grains of rice. I was the one who held her when Jason didn't show up for visitation. I was the one who took her to get her first library card. I taught her how to float in the pool without fear. I held her hand when she got her first shot. But none of that mattered when a child says, "I want my real dad," and a mother nods. So I went silent, not out of spite, but because silence is the only language people hear when they've made you invisible. I didn't rage. I didn't threaten. I didn't text her to ask how it had all changed so fast. I just let the silence stretch. Let her sit in the space I once filled. And in that space, I let the truth echo. I was never a placeholder. I was never a guest. But I also was never invited to stay. I had carried them both, with love, with loyalty, with everything I had. But the minute it became inconvenient, the minute biology came calling, I was traded out like a substitute teacher whose shift had ended. So I removed myself. Fully. Quietly. Finally. Let Jason have the school meetings. Let him remember her shoe sizes, her allergies, her favorite bedtime songs. Let him explain why he disappeared for 7 years. And let him fix the damage he left behind. I was no longer the stand-in. And I do not stay where I am no longer seen. A week passed. Then another. I didn't reach out. Didn't respond. The voicemails kept coming. The tone shifting. First concerned, then irritated, then condescending. She said I was making this harder than it needed to be. That I was being dramatic. And Macy? She didn't call. She didn't text. That silence, hers, was worse than anything. She'd never been one to hold back before. She used to send me voice memos during the school day, whispering from under her desk. "Dad, guess what? I got a B on my math test." Little things. Mundane things. Things that reminded me I mattered. That I was in her orbit. But now, gone. I started taking walks in the evening just to keep myself from sitting too long in the dark. That's how I ended up near the festival. I hadn't meant to go. I hadn't even remembered it was happening. But the lights caught my eye as I walked past the town square. The Ferris wheel pulsing against the twilight sky. The smell of funnel cake thick in the air. I stood at the edge of the crowd, near the kettle corn stand, and something about the noise, the laughter, the music, made me feel like I'd stepped outside time. That's when I heard her laugh. I would know that laugh anywhere. I'd heard it behind bathroom doors, in car seats, echoing off playground walls. It was Macy's laugh, the one that started in her chest and burst out like sunlight cracking through clouds. I turned, and there she was, my Macy. She wore a denim jacket I had bought her last spring. Her hair was in the 2 braids I used to clumsily do for her every morning before school, when her mother slept in. And she was holding someone's hand. Not her mother's. Jason's. He stood tall, wearing that smug, hollow charm he always wore when he was pretending to be involved. Grinning like he had a right to be there. Beside him, my wife, his ex, smiled, her eyes scanning the crowd like she was expecting someone. Like she was expecting me. They moved like a family, laughing, pointing at prizes, buying cotton candy. My wife took photos, her phone held high, her voice sweet with performative joy. They didn't see me. I stood in the shadow of a hot dog cart and watched them build a new narrative. One where I never existed. One where Jason had never missed a birthday, never failed to pay child support, never made Macy cry on Christmas morning because he couldn't make it this year. He walked with Macy like he had earned the right, like he hadn't been the ghost I'd had to apologize for again and again. like he hadn't vanished for 6 years and then reappeared with a lawyer and a smile. And Macy? She didn't look sad. She didn't look forced. She looked like she was trying to believe in something. But then, something happened. She stopped, right in the middle of the crowd, as they passed the cotton candy booth. Her smile faded just slightly. She turned her head, looked toward nothing. Toward me, but not really. Her eyes didn't find mine, but her face changed, like she felt something, like she knew something was missing. And for just a second, her fingers loosened from Jason's. That small moment hit harder than any fight could. I didn't wait for more. I turned and walked home. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. But something inside me buckled. Back at the apartment, I sat down at my desk, opened my laptop and went to work. Not with rage, not with revenge, but with clarity. I opened the financial dashboard I had kept hidden for years, the one where all the connections lived. My name was tied to every line of their lives: phone plans, school accounts, dance memberships, health insurance, streaming services. All of it. Line by line, I pulled myself out, not with hate, but with precision. The dental coverage that kept Macy's braces paid for? Gone. The automatic deposit for school lunches? Cancelled. The family Spotify plan I still paid for, despite not living there? Revoked. Her gymnastic class, her birthday trip, the prepaid vacation deposit I'd made last fall. Every dollar, every service, every privilege they had taken for granted, I pulled it back like oxygen from a sealed room. Not a word sent. Not a single explanation given. This wasn't punishment. It was accounting. They wanted a new structure. One where I didn't exist. Fine. Let them see what that structure looked like when the one holding it together walked away. I was done being the invisible glue, the background support, the shadow they expected to fund their spotlight. The next day, I got the first call from the school. Mr. Renner? The voice was tight, professional. We noticed the tuition payment for Macy's term hasn't come through. Is there an issue with the card on file? I don't think I'm the right person to ask anymore, I said calmly. A pause. Then confusion. I'm sorry. I believe her biological father is more involved now. I suggest you reach out to him. The silence was thick. Then the woman on the line cleared her throat. We weren't aware of any changes. No one was, I replied. I hung up. That night, no calls. No messages. They didn't even notice. But I knew what was coming. Started small. A missed copay at the pharmacy. A declined card at the dance studio. A reminder email from the insurance portal that the premium had failed. I imagined them sitting around the kitchen table, sifting through bills with my name still on them, realizing the support beam had vanished. I wasn't being cruel. I was matching their energy. They chose a story where I didn't exist. I simply stepped into the role they assigned me. Jason, the real dad, could fill in the gaps now. He could explain deductibles. He could submit tax forms. He could answer the emergency calls when Macy's fever spiked at 2 a.m. That weekend, I passed by the house on my way to the hardware store. I didn't mean to. My route curved near it. But I slowed as I saw Jason's car in the driveway, parked crooked, like he was in a rush. The porch light was off, the recycling bin still full even though pickup had passed. The lawn had gone yellow at the edges. Tiny details, things I used to handle, things no one noticed. Until they stopped being done. And still no calls, no messages, not even from Macy. I told myself she was adjusting, that she was trying to make sense of the new picture her mother painted for her. That maybe she didn't realize how much I had filled in the blank spaces of her life. Or maybe she did. Maybe that's why she hadn't reached out. Maybe she was waiting to see if I'd fight for a spot in a world I was already pushed out of. But I wasn't going to beg for a place in a family that had decided I was temporary. I had fought that battle before. I had lost it in silence. Now I would win in absence. They wanted clarity. I gave it to them. No outbursts. No confrontations. No guilt trips. Just removal. A precise withdrawal from every corner of the life I was once begged to build. And in that vacuum, I waited for the silence to teach them what my presence had been worth. 2 weeks after I removed myself, I got an email from Macy's school. Polite, casual, a digital shrug. Dear Mr. Renner, we noticed no parent was present at Macy's teacher conference this week. Would you like to reschedule? They didn't know. No one had told them I was gone. To them, I was still the parent on file. Still the man who signed forms and answered calls and showed up in a dress shirt smelling faintly of work and coffee. Still the one who brought bakery cookies to conferences so the teachers wouldn't dread another long evening of complaints and excuses. I stared at the email for a long time. Read it 3 times. Then I called. Not out of curiosity. Not out of hope. I just wanted to hear the silence on the other end. This is Mr. Renner, I said when they picked up. Oh, yes, thank you for getting back to us, the counselor said. Her voice perked up, grateful, unaware. We were surprised no one showed for Macy. We'd confirmed with her mother last week. Right? I said. I didn't think I was considered family anymore. A pause. A long one. I'm sorry? I assumed, with Jason involved now, I'd be stepping back. More silence. Then, no one mentioned anything. Of course they hadn't. My name was still on everything. Emergency contacts. Financials. Legal guardianship. They hadn't bothered to do the paperwork to erase me. Just the emotional kind. Jason hadn't shown. Hadn't called. Hadn't emailed. He'd been given the front seat and left it empty. That was the moment it turned. Not from hurt to confirmation. Jason was never going to stay. He was the photo in Macy's bedroom frame. Not the man who fixed her door when it jammed. He was the comment on her Facebook. Not the voice who read to her during storms. He was the idea of a father, safe, distant, untouchable. But I had been real. I had been there. And they had traded that reality for a fantasy. Fine. Let them live in it. Let them carry the burden of pretending the fantasy worked. Let them explain the absence when school noticed the gap. When Macy asked why her real dad forgot the one event he was supposed to attend. Let my silence become a mirror. Let it reflect everything they had overlooked. That night, I left my phone on the kitchen counter and took a long walk through the park. I watched families drift by, kids tugging at parents, parents too tired to respond. None of them saw me, just another man passing through, hands in his pockets, face unreadable. I liked that. Invisibility had become easier than explaining myself. By the time I got home, I had a message. It was from Macy. 3 words. Did I upset you? My fingers hovered over the screen. I sat down, closed my eyes. No, sweetheart. Not you. Never you. I typed slowly. I never left you. I was just waiting for the moment you'd want me back in your world. She didn't reply right away. Hours passed. Then came a photo. A crayon drawing. Us holding hands beside a Christmas tree. I recognized the colors. The same ones she'd used the night we stayed up wrapping gifts, sipping cocoa, giggling every time we tore the tape wrong. At the bottom of the drawing, in thick shaky letters, my dad is the one who stayed. I sat with that image for a long time, not smiling, not crying, just still, because that sentence, it undid something. Not all the damage, not the betrayal, but a thread, a single stitch in a wound too wide to close. The next day, I met with an attorney. I laid everything on the table. Receipts, emails, records of payments, photos, videos, messages, voicemails, a digital lifetime of proof. I don't want to fight her, I said. This isn't about custody. It's about protection. He looked at me like he was still waiting for the anger to show. But there was no anger. There was only intention. Macy deserved more than appearances. She deserved permanence. File the motion, I told him. Not out of spite. But so when she turns 18, she'll know I didn't vanish. So she'll know I fought for her even when her mother didn't. That night, the first sign came that my absence had begun to cost them. A text from my wife, short, clipped. Did you cancel the insurance? No greeting. No warmth. Just need. I didn't reply. Another came the next morning. Macy's inhaler needs a refill. It's not covered. Why isn't it covered? Still, I said nothing. Then came the third. Can we talk? 3 words I had longed for, but they meant nothing now, because they weren't about love. They were about loss. She didn't miss me. She missed the scaffolding I provided, the quiet labor, the uncelebrated support. She missed the way I kept their world from falling. Too late. Let Jason fix the coverage. Let him drive to the pharmacy at 9 p.m. Let him juggle insurance calls and billing errors. Let him fill the role he claimed with such ease. But I already knew how that would go. Jason would vanish again, because that's what he was built for. Presence without pressure, love without labor. I, on the other hand, had been the opposite. Pressure without presence, love without credit. But that was over now. And Macy? She kept sending me drawings. Little ones. A dog we never owned, with a note. When we get one someday. A stick figure with glasses. This is you. I drew you taller than the trees. A paper sun with, thank you for keeping me warm. I didn't respond to each one. I didn't need to, because she was building a bridge. And she wasn't doing it for anyone else. Her mother didn't even know. She was drawing from memory, from moments that mattered, from everything her new, real family couldn't fake. That's what children do. They remember what you think they forget. They watch when you think they're asleep. They keep score in places no adult dares to look. By the end of that week, the school emailed again. Jason hadn't shown for the makeup conference either. No call, no email, just nothing. This time, they CC'd me directly. Would you like to take over the calendar again, Mr. Renner? I stared at the screen. I hadn't been invited back into the family, but life was inviting me back into Macy's. And that's all I had ever wanted. I replied with one line. Yes, I'll be there. I didn't knock. I walked back into that house like a man returning to a place he once built. Not with entitlement, but with memory. Every corner still remembered me. The scratches on the baseboards, from Macy's scooter phase. The dent on the fridge, from when she tried to carry a watermelon by herself. The hallway mirror slightly crooked, because she once asked me to hang it and I rushed the job. I never fixed it. She said she liked it that way. Imperfect like us. I stood in the doorway of the kitchen. She looked up. Not Macy. My wife. Or rather, the woman who used to be. Her eyes didn't widen. She didn't cry. She didn't say my name. She just froze, one hand holding a half-filled mug, the other limp at her side. I'm not here to fight, I said. She nodded, slow. You got Macy's texts. I did. A long pause. She's confused, she said. She's still adjusting. No, I said. She's not. You are. Silence. I looked around. The sink was full. The garbage can overstuffed. School papers scattered across the counter. I used to manage all of it. The rhythm, the routine. The structure that made this place feel less like chaos and more like a home. It was gone. I'm filing for guardianship, I told her. Calm. Clean. She blinked. I'm not asking for custody. Not trying to drag you into court. But I want something on record. Something that tells the world. Tells her that I didn't walk away. That when she needed someone to stand for her, I did. Her jaw set. She has a father. No, I said. She has a donor. Her eyes flared, but she didn't argue. Because she knew. Jason had vanished again. 2 weeks since the festival. He hadn't called. Hadn't shown up to school. Hadn't paid a single bill. Macy hadn't even mentioned him since. I took a folder from my coat pocket and slid it onto the table. Medical forms. School authorization. Guardianship motion. All signed. I'm not removing her from your life, I said. I'm securing my place in hers. You think this will fix everything? She asked. No, I said. This is for her. So she knows who stayed. She looked down at the folder but didn't touch it. She's still young. She doesn't understand. She understands everything. I cut in. Kids don't need clarity. They need consistency. She knows who bought her inhaler. She knows who held her when Jason forgot her birthday. She knows who took her to urgent care when she fell off the monkey bars. She knows who built her damn dollhouse, twice because she changed her mind about the colors. I stepped back. I'm not here for permission. She didn't follow me out. Macy did. She came home from school just as I reached the porch. She froze when she saw me. Her backpack slipped off her shoulder. I opened my arms. She ran into them. No questions. No hesitation. Just that small body hitting mine with the force of 100 nights I had spent wondering if this would ever happen again. She pulled back, blinking up at me. "Are you back?" she whispered. I shook my head. I never left. 2 weeks later, the guardianship hearing was quiet. Jason didn't show, didn't respond. His address on the forms bounced back. Undeliverable. Macy's mother didn't contest. She sat in the back of the courtroom, silent, tired. She signed the document without comment. The judge looked at me. "You understand the weight of this?" I nodded. "I've understood it since she was 4. The gavel dropped. And just like that, it was done. I didn't celebrate. There were no balloons. No posts online. No announcement. I took Macy out for ice cream. She didn't ask why. I didn't explain. She just smiled when I let her order the double scoop with sprinkles. That night, we sat in my apartment, her curled up on the couch beside me. A movie playing quietly, her breath slowing as she drifted off. The papers sat on the table. Signed. Sealed. Real. She had called me Dad again. Not in a rush, not in a moment of fear, but soft, like a truth finally allowed to be spoken out loud. And this time, it wasn't just a title. It was justice. It was memory corrected. A lie overturned. I didn't return to the family. I returned to her. And I came with the proof that I had never stopped being the one who showed up. Months passed. The silence from the other side grew louder with each day. Jason never reappeared. My ex-wife rarely called. When she did, it was brief, logistical. Macy's schedule. A field trip. A dentist appointment. I answered without venom, without resentment. But I didn't offer anything more. She had made her choice. And now she was learning what it meant to be left out of the structure I had once held together without recognition. Macy thrived. I watched her begin to draw again, begin to laugh again, begin to sleep without that edge of restlessness I'd seen in her during those final weeks in the house I no longer called home. She still visited her mother, still stayed there on weekends. But she always came back with the same question in her eyes. "Are you still here?" And I always answered the same way. Yes. Because the truth is, I had nothing left to prove, except that love means staying when it's hard. Not for praise, not for points, not even for thanks, but because they are your child, even when the world says otherwise. The last time Macy asked me about Jason, her voice was flat. Did he stop loving me? I felt something tear behind my ribs. "No," I said. "He probably never learned how." She didn't cry. She just nodded like the puzzle finally made sense. That was the day she stopped drawing him in her pictures. That was the day I knew she had stopped waiting. Now the house is quieter, calmer. I still get calls from her school, emails from her teachers. I sign the permission slips. I make the lunches. I check the homework. No one calls me a step anything anymore. They just say, "Dad." And I don't correct them, because I earned it. In every unseen moment, in every quiet night spent worrying, in every sacrifice made without thanks. I earned it when I was erased. I earned it when I stayed. So now I leave you with this. Was I wrong? Was I cruel to walk away from a family that erased me, even as I stayed for the child who didn't? Should I have kept giving without question? Should I have kept standing in the shadow of a man who left, just to make peace in a house where I was no longer seen? Or was this the only way to reclaim myself? To teach a child that love isn't about words or names, but action? Tell me, would you have endured it? Or would you have drawn the line too?